Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another Reader's Magnet featured author interview. My name is Mark, and I am your host for today. And with me is one of the Reader's Magnet featured authors that is here with us to share his journey as an author and to tell us more about his book titled Ireland's Unparalleled Essence. We have Norbert G. Gomes. Hi, Norbert. How are you
Hi,
today?
how's it going? I'm doing fine.
It is great to see you today, Norbert. I just want to let you know that we're so grateful that you chose our platform, Readers Magnet, to share your story with the world. And I am really thrilled to have this, conversation with you. And I can't wait to talk more about your book. But before we start that one, I want you to introduce yourself first.
I'm Norbert G. Gomes. I've lived many years on this planet, uh, and I used to write poetry in my youth, and then I stopped writing for many, many years, and I just picked up and started writing about a year and a half ago, and this is my first published effort that I have out on the marketplace.
Wow.
Prior to that, I spent 30 years in broadcasting
Oh,
and had a good life there. I have a wonderful wife and a great daughter
mm,
and a couple of grandchildren that I adore. And I live in Southern California. Pretty
okay.
much wrapped
Wow.
it all up there for you.
Wow, there you go. I wondered what made you transition into from like a broadcaster to a writer. Like it made me wonder what
Well,
gave you this inspiration.
the broadcasting has to deal with rhythm and rhyme and things like that. And since I am a
Yeah,
poet, that's what I write.
exactly.
It was a natural flow for me. What can I tell you?
Well,
It was
yeah,
not that difficult of a transition for me.
actually, it does. It makes sense. Yeah, actually. Now, let us proceed. Okay, let us proceed with this author interview. Now, let's start with knowing more about the book. Can you please show your book on camera and then tell us what the book is all about?
Oh, sure. Take a look at it. Here's the. Oh, let me put it on this side. There you go.
There you go.
There you
The
go.
Ireland Unparalleled Essence. There you go.
So
And tell
something
us what
about
it's all
here.
about.
There it is. There it is.
Wow, and that's a
That's
pretty
and that
thick book.
and that's volume one. There are five
hmm
volumes to this book. Uh,
Tell us about this book series, Norbert.
well, this book is about everything Irish from the very
hmm
beginning to its present, and
hmm
included in the book, I have written not only about its history
hmm
and its culture, which to me were important. I also wrote about its myths because it has many, many, many myths. And in addition to that, I also took time to study all of the wordsmiths that come from Ireland because there are many, many, many great writers that have come out of
hmm
Ireland. So that the book includes all of those different areas.
hmm
Uh, and the nice thing about the book is that it not only has poems, but every poem has an illustration.
hmm
Uh, Let me see if I.
Wow. Okay.
So everything is illustrated. There you go. Everything
hmm
is illustrated, and a lot of effort went into it. So I'm very, very proud of the five volumes, and uh, and I'm actually right now beginning to work on a whole new series on Egypt. So
Oh
uh,
wow.
Egypt is my next step.
Why Egypt?
I just came from there and spent 6 weeks there, and took it upon myself to learn
hmm
everything there was about Egypt.
And realized that I think you want to write more about Egypt and
Oh
want to
yeah.
share it.
Oh yeah,
hmm
yes, yes. Egypt is mother to us all.
Wow. Okay. Now, with your book, Unparalleled Essence, I mean, Ireland's Unparalleled Essence, what or who inspired you to write this book series?
Well, that's pretty interesting. My
hmm
inspiration to write about Ireland actually came from my wife, who
Mhm.
is of Irish descent. And
Oh, okay.
that was the start. And once
Mhm.
I set foot in Ireland itself, my inspiration just expanded and exploded.
Mhm.
The Emerald Isle beauty and its people gave me a great feeling of calm and a desire to drown myself in everything Irish. And I began
Mhm.
to invest my time in learning its history
Mhm.
and the varied cultures that dot this incredible island. I was hooked. So I
Mhm.
dedicated myself in putting on paper
Uh-huh.
the wonderful justice and the great island and everything that happens to be part of it and its people. Its people are just
Mhm.
amazing.
Tell me, what's like the difference? Like, give us an inspire. I mean, a reference of what's the difference with their culture to your culture. So, give us something.
Oh, because there are 32 counties in Ireland,
Mhm. Mhm.
and amazing as it may seem, every county has its own separate culture. I mean, you
Wow.
have the overall Irish culture, but the
Mhm.
individual culture within the counties and what makes them so magical, just it just caught my attention and intrigued me, and I just had to find out and learn all about it, and it's
Mm.
pretty amazing.
All right. So for those people that want to know more about Ireland and their culture and their mythical stories, please buy a copy. The book of Mr. Norbert G. Gomes is perfect for you. Okay. Now, what do you think your readers will take away after reading this book series, Norbert?
Well, my feeling is that the reader will appreciate the
Mm-hmm.
long history that gave Ireland its character and its
Mm-hmm.
life. I
Mm-hmm.
also believe they will appreciate the immense struggle the Irish people have endured from the beginning crossings of Doggerland to the
Mm-hmm.
very present.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, as I have already mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
very cultures that are interwoven throughout the Ireland, I believe, will not only impress the reader, but oftentimes put a smile on their face. At times, it is sad, yet more often than not, it's very uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I learned about Ireland is that hope is always lurking around the next corner.
Wow. Okay. Now, Mr. Norbert, I think you mentioned earlier that you've been a broadcaster. Now, I want to know when did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer?
Ah, well,
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to when I was about 9 years old. I
Mm,
was
wow.
an avid listener of radio, music,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
song.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with what my ears picked up and became attuned to
Mm-hmm.
rhyme. And as an only and locked key child, uh, I would read a lot and then I would mimic those stories and write my own versions, which I would share with my mother when she came home from work. I was,
Mm-hmm.
however, encouraged by the magic of writing lines of rhyme that were coherent. So
Mm-hmm.
poetry began to come to me very easily. It was a
Mm-hmm.
discovery and a journey that kept opening doors for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
found writing in prose uh, a bit tedious.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry was both expressive, passionate, and
Artistic,
invigorating
right?
and
Yeah.
artistic. So, yeah, I fell in love with poetry, and that was my strength.
Actually, yeah, that makes your book very authentic, very unique to other books. That would lead me to my next question. So, what do you think makes a good book, Mr. Norbert?
Well, I would suspect that would fall into two different areas for different people, fiction
Hmm.
writers and nonfiction writers. And I am a
Hmm.
nonfiction writer. And because
Hmm.
of that, I've always been a student of history. So if we begin there, the foundations in my mind are: what are the circumstances that began the journey of the story?
Hmm.
Then add the endless twists and turns that gave it life and substance. and whether it's good or bad, ugly or sorrowful or victorious jubilation, those are all important. Finally, the individual souls who were the conduit that brought power and truth to the reality along the path for that story that makes it complete. So those are the elements that I always consider when I'm
It's
writing. And for a poet, those are the important pieces of the puzzle.
right, right. I can see that your book is really interesting right now, Mr. Norbert. You have that mindset of this, what type should be a book quality is. Now, my next and my last question, Mr. Norbert, what is your work schedule? And like whenever you write, do you do something else before like you do writing, proceed to writing, like a ritual maybe? Tell us more about it.
Well, as a sidebar, let me put this over here, and that
Mm-hmm.
is that I start writing at seven on any project. I start writing at 7:30 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and I stop at 12:30 in the afternoon. That's it.
Wow.
Those are the only hours that I write because I don't want to tax my brain any more than I want to. I'm an old guy. And
Mm-hmm.
before I go to bed, about an hour and a half, I
Mm-hmm.
go back and I review everything that I have written that morning. And this sets
Mm-hmm.
up my sleeping mind on a path of correction and expansion so that the next morning I'm ready to go. So, having set that
Oh.
aside as a sidebar, now we become to the parts of how I organize myself.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the first thing is I do an extensive, intensive
Mm-hmm.
research and make
Mm-hmm.
protected, categorized notes. I make lots of notes. My wife
That's
says I should own a note paper factory. Uh, the next thing that I do is I take and I organize each category of these notes or subject matter into a logical order that
mm-hmm.
flows and will be easy and coherent for the reader to understand and appreciate. That to me is real important. Writing
Wow.
something that the reader will not be able to appreciate or to understand or get lost in defeats the entire purpose.
Right.
The next thing I do is I take each subject matter and write a complete essay. I know it's in prose and I hate prose, but it's important to have covered every pertinent point of revelation that I want to include in that poem. So I write
Mm-hmm.
essays. Now I write my poetic first draft using those prose essays as
Mm-hmm.
the guide and the notes. Now
Wow.
the next step, because there's only two more steps left. The next step, and this one is, I know this is quirky and rather odd, and people
Mm-hmm.
always frown at me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to me.
Yes.
I purposely destroy all the prose copies that I've written. I do not have or want any reason to refer to it as a second guess reference to what I'm going to finally write. I want that out of the way. I've already did the first draft.
Yeah, you passed through that already.
Everything that is pertinent is there. I don't need the essay. I just want to get that
Mm-hmm.
out of my way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the final step, of course, is to rewrite each poetic effort, not only simplifying it for the reader, but
Wow.
also eliminating any ambiguity. And upon completion, I then again, of course, destroy all the first drafts because clutter in my
Uh-huh.
mind unnecessary. And that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the steps that I take in my writing exercise.
Wow. Wow, it's so what's the word? Organized, and I love that you really handpick all those, very important or necessary words for the book, because you're thinking about your readers, of how they will like be able to absorb the content of your book. Wow, that's really interesting, Norbert. Now,
Thank you.
we really enjoyed this session with you, Mr. Norbert, and I have asked all the questions we have prepared for you today. That would conclude the session. But for the last time, Norbert G. Gomes, please show your book on
Oh,
camera
by all
again
means,
and
by
invite
all
everyone to
means.
buy a copy of your book.
Let me put it on this side. There you go.
That's perfect.
Well, there you go.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Please
okay.
invite us to buy a copy of your book.
Please, please.
Okay.
buy a copy and become involved, and then it will encourage you to look at another copy, the next volume, and so on.
Wow. All right. So, yes, everyone, that's Norbert G. Gomes, the author of the book Ireland Unparalleled Essence. The book has 1 to 5 volumes. And if you want to know more about um, the books, you can visit his website. That is www.norbertggomes.com. Again, that's www.norbertggomes.com. Again, thank you so much, Norbert. As we say it here, Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Goodbye. Thank you so much, Norbert.
Thank you.